Hey everyone, Mecha Steve here, and today we are hanging out on the floor in a kind of tiny space building the Gundam Spiegel, also known as the Shadow Gundam for the North American viewers of G Gundam. This is an older kit from 1994, recently reprinted. Beautiful little kit. I like these because they're very simple, very fast to put together, and a good starting point for a lot of people. So I did already go ahead and take these out of the plastic bags that they usually come in. However, most of these kits from 1994, 2000, they all run pretty much the same. You get a few runners, a very little color separation. Your instructions are very simplistic. Usually one page, like so. I mean, after you build a few of these, you pretty much don't need instructions anymore, which is one reason why I can appreciate them. So, you'll also have a decal sheet. For a lot of the older kits, it will be simple paper stickers. Some of the more modern kits or master grades may come with water slide decals, which are a little trickier to apply, but still amazing and relatively simple. For this, today I will be using a pair of nippers, a Gundam marker for panel lining. I prefer the fine tip, personally. However, there are other panel lining options out there for those who are interested. We will keep a hobby knife on hand, just in case we need to trim off some little nubs. And one thing I like to suggest to people, a small nail care kit, a manicure set. Obviously, you can pick them up for cheap at the dollar store. Comes with a nail file, nail clipper, cuticle pusher, scissors. However, the things I typically use out of here, possibly the scissors for opening up the baggies, although you could also use your hobby knife. The file isn't really so useful. I mean, it can be, but I find this pointed tip more useful for applying the decal stickers. You can also use something like this for applying your stickers and pressing them down. Give them a nice smooth, make sure they're adhered pretty well to the model. Nail clippers, don't really need those. You may also want to keep on hand some sandpaper. Again, for wearing down nub marks and lines, things like that, for where the mold's separated. I'm not going to worry about that for this model. And just in case, I also have a part separator. This one's a little bit beat up, but here's a bit of a nicer one. This one I got with a mega size Gundam model kit. It's very convenient. If you accidentally snap something together and you need to separate it, say you missed a part like one of these little poly caps, you can easily pry things apart and fix your mistakes. In a pinch, if that isn't handy, you can also go back to this handy little tool. The back side of it is usually thin enough that you can also use it to pry parts apart. So that's also an option. Now, where shall we start? I think with this one, do we want the instructions? If this is your first time building a model kit, I would suggest using the instructions. The 1990 kits are pretty simplistic. You usually have two to four parts for each leg, each arm. The hands are on the poly caps, as you can see here. So, I mean, for the most part, this is a good starting point for a lot of people if you can find the older kits. They do get reprinted every so often. For example, this one here with the blue Bandai Spirits logo. I believe this was actually reprinted in 2019 As you can see though, it was originally 1994 in Japan. So the fun thing about these is, I mean, you don't see them too often. They're nice, they're handy, they're simple, and they're a good starting point because most of them can be picked up for around $10. So I think we are going to start with the arms and legs on this one. Typically runner A, what do we have here? A, B, A1, A2, okay. You might want to separate them for that. Again, if this is your first time, just to show in the instructions here, very simple. Even though it looks like it's all Japanese, everything is numbered. Everything you need, every piece has a number corresponding to the runner. So if you're ever lost, if you're not sure which piece to take out, you just need to look at the paper, see which numbers go to which numbers, see which polycaps. The polycaps are usually different. They are lettered as opposed to numbered. However, again, a beautiful thing with these 94 and 2000 kits is this polycap set is pretty much found in every 1/44 scale G Gundam and Gundam Wing model. So I actually spent the other night digging for polycaps to fix a model that was damaged, and it's very convenient that they all share the same polycaps. So, guess let's begin. See here, most of the parts pretty much match up. I think we got our upper arms here, our forearms are on the other runner, and we will need some polycaps. Sometimes I do like to keep the instructions handy just to make sure of which polycaps go where, but again, most of these older kits use the same format with a different mold, so again, it's pretty easy to put these together. Now, different people have different methods for this part as well. As you can see, the pieces attached to the runner, a lot of people, when they first start out, tend to clip right against the parts. However, it's usually advised against that, as it can actually cause tearing on the piece itself. So what you want to do is cut away from the model, leave just a tiny bit of space right there. Again, cutting away. They will pop off. So let's just clip these out. And whoops. There we go. Let's get those together. Let's find our forearms. So with these older kits, there is very little color separation. So these ones, you do need decal stickers. It is typically better to paint them. I haven't painted too many of these myself. I painted a few. For the most part, I do prefer high grade 144 scale kits. They have pretty decent color separation, and usually if you have to paint something, it's very minor details. So from there, I think it was C. Now with the polycaps, it's okay if you want to clip a little bit closer. We need B. So let's just cut those out of there. Now, you do want to be a little bit careful when you're clipping these, especially if you're going to clip right against them. The issue I had was actually with this polycap here. As you can see, it actually extends slightly on the sides, and this piece will typically go into the upper leg and connect to a ball joint for to hold the leg onto the body. If you cut that little edge off, it will actually have a lot of trouble staying in place. In that case, I mean, you could use glue. You could, I mean, that might have been the simpler option for me last night. So as you can see now, trying to clip it, keep it flush. Some people will use their hobby knife for this part. I'm not going to worry too much for this kit. I mean, I worry more for the more expensive kits. However, if it's just something you pick up for 10 bucks, 15 bucks, I wouldn't worry too much. I do find that the plastic with the older kits is a little more brittle, a little bit harder to cut compared to newer models with newer plastics. But overall, it's not too bad. This is one of the more time-consuming parts, is just nipping everything. However, actually, that's not bad, but you can see, like, pretty clean once that comes off. Like, you might want to sand that down after. Again, not going to worry for this. Oops. And this is a little bit awkward for me because I am laying on the floor right now because my normal workspace is a little bit occupied at the moment with other things. However, there we go. Just brush that out of the way. We have our parts here. Now, just want to insert that. Maybe I can use the nail clipper. So you just want to match up the parts. If you're not following the instructions, then it's kind of a bit of a puzzle. Sometimes I like to leave a little bit of a gap if there's something I might have to panel line, like here. Just because if you get into these creases, sometimes if you're using Gundam markers or some panel liners, it will actually run into that crack and run down the arm, and that can't really be cleaned up too easily, but this kit looks okay like that. So now we're gonna go ahead and continue with the arm. The other nice thing about these kits is typically once you finish one part, the other will be the same. So, okay, for some reason, there we go. See, so that mark right there is something you might want to sand down with sandpaper or file. Same thing on the other side. Usually up here on the shoulder, it won't be too noticeable because there will be a part that will cover that. So let's go for the lower arm. Get that in there. So, I think it is this one. Did we guess right? We guessed right. Yay. Actually, I think there's another piece that's supposed to go in here for the arm blades. Yes. How do we do those? Let's see. Okay, so we got the blades here. So snip, snip. Another thing too, though, is if you plan on painting the kit completely, marks like this will disappear in your paint job easily. Okay, see, this is one of those parts where having a hobby knife handy is not too bad either, because you can either shave it down slightly like that, or sometimes I just run the blade backwards. You peel off a little bit of plastic, but it gives you a smoother finish afterwards. Just do it both ways. And for the most part, nobody will ever notice. How's the other one? Yeah, this can use a little bit of cleanup. There we go. Nice and simple, but I'm curious if that uses a polycap or... Oh, okay, so turns out, in all honesty, this is a part that back when this kit was made was not a polycap. However, this is pretty standard as a polycap now. It's interesting because this is the first time I've ever actually seen this molded in hard plastic. Yeah, I mean, typically these kits would have used your C, your C polycap for this, like the Gundam Heavy Arms model kit. Actually, the original Gundam Wing Heavy Arms model kit had a similar piece for his switchblade. Swiss Army knife? Oh, either way, same concept, but they actually used a polycap for that kit, which I think was released closer to the year 2000. So, okay, and this is another reason why we don't always want to tighten things right away. So we'll pop that in there, and let's see, just like that. There we go. Okay. It almost looks like I know what I'm doing. And we'll go ahead and tighten that up. At least with this, if I want to panel line the sword or anything later, paint it. I do plan on painting these kits eventually. I have a really large backlog though, so I was thinking about working through that and then painting other kits. I mean, right now I'm just not really set up to do painting. Again, my normal workspace is a little bit occupied at the moment, but that's okay. The nice thing about these models is that there's something for everyone, and realistically, you only need to do as much as you are satisfied with. So I started building these when, well, I guess I started building these back in 1990 something. Yeah, wow. And I mean, back then it was pretty terrible. I mean, I was just using scissors and my bare hands, and everything was kind of a mess with nips and marks, and parts would break all the time. But I've learned a lot since then. I still prefer just to do straight builds out of the box. I might do some detail painting, or depending on the model, I do have a few that I've fully painted. So there we have the arms. Ta-da! And this switchblade, which actually seems like it makes more sense to go this way. Yeah. Okay. But then it tucks in the other way. So for transforming, I'm gonna flip it out, spin it around, put it in the hand. Okay. That's neat. This is, I mean, the extent of early mecha transformation for models, I guess. So now that we got those, let's go for the next simple parts, is the legs, which I also realized I said I was going to panel line. However, I may save that for later. I do typically like to panel line as I build, although I've been trying different methods lately. I mean, again, it's whatever works best for you, whatever you're satisfied with. So if you can build this straight out of the box and be happy with what it is, then that's fine. I mean, that's really what this is all about. If you really need colors, like specific colors on specific parts, you could buy master grade and, you know, just have the full experience, which, to be honest, master grade isn't really any more difficult than this, as it uses the same concept, the same paint by number instructions. So in that sense, I mean, I would not recommend a master grade as your first model kit, simply because of just the number of parts. I mean, it's like a puzzle. You know, you can buy a 100-piece puzzle or a 1,000-piece puzzle, and, you know, in the end, you still put it together, you still have the same result, but how long it'll take, how frustrating it might be, especially if it's your first try, you know, it's different for everyone. Now, one thing with these older kits is that you do actually get some pretty bad nip marks. Actually, one secret I will share. This is just kind of lazy, but if you have a Gundam marker handy, I would not recommend using Sharpie, as they tend to have a bit of a metallic reflection. However, for darker parts like this, if you want to just take a gray Gundam marker, tap over that a bit, and then you can just wipe it away. And I mean, it's not as bright, not as visible. At a glance, nobody's going to notice. I mean, the only people who are going to notice this are the people that are really zooming in and looking for it. So you just cover little spots like that, and I mean, I think it's a pretty noticeable, like it's a pretty good difference. Just hiding the white marks. Otherwise, I mean, you could grab a cotton bud with some paint, just do a little dab, blend it in. I mean, I've done that with models before, especially the Tamiya clear colors are pretty good. I mean, if they match the model plastic, then just put a dab on and no one will ever know. For example, this. I mean, a dab of clear red ink, no one will know. I mean, you might even be able to use a red Sharpie on this. Like, I've never actually tried red Sharpie, like colored Sharpies. But I know the black Sharpies leave a metallic, like a sort of purple metallic look to them. Not a big fan of that. So, time to nip off some more parts. I don't know if you can hear in the background, but that is my baby waking up. I probably shouldn't be talking as much with him sleeping behind me. I actually had a bit of difficulty building models for a while, mainly because my wife and I were busy spending 9 months making him. So, I mean, that was awesome, and he didn't need any paint or nipping, so that's good. Take those off. Oh, and I forgot the lower leg. I can grab that in a minute. By the way, if you actually enjoy this, feel free to hit that like button, subscribe, follow me, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, yeah. Mecha Steve, I'm everywhere. I think might be Mecha Steve 0 on some channels, but you'll find links in the description. You know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't think I'm going to worry about panel lining right now. Oh, okay. Someone's awake. You okay, babe? Okay. My lovely wife to the rescue. Also, if you ever want to find interesting videos about Canada, about Toronto, feel free to check out Amando Canada. It is a Spanish channel, however, it is very interesting. Pretty much unrelated to this channel, but still something nice. Okay, where were we? So, again, in the same sort of cookie cutter fashion, the legs, the arms, they all typically use the same parts in the same places for these kits. So we are going to want E and A for the legs, and this time I'm going to put extra care into not nipping too close on those E's. Actually, my hunt for parts last night, I actually have a pretty large part box in my closet of just random Gundam scraps, and I realized that for these older kits, at least for the upper leg inside the thigh specifically, I only have enough spare poly caps to make 2 more mistakes, and then I gotta start gluing things. So let's try and keep this clean. Oops. Actually, one other tool I forgot to mention earlier that may come in handy is some reverse tweezers. These ones I picked up at a hobby shop, but you can also get some that, you know, sometimes you can find medical ones for cheap. But also, I mean, even alligator clips, if you can find them at a hobby shop. They're used, like the alligator clips are good for painting, good for holding small parts. The tweezers are good for applying small parts into awkward places. So we have our poly cap, and that is where it fits. So let's get that in there. And this is where some people might want tweezers. Like, I have big hands, so sometimes the tweezers are just a godsend. I'm gonna put our A here, press that in, and this is the moment of truth. So as you can see, this piece here has two bits that come in from the sides at the top, and those are what will hold your poly cap in place inside, and that is actually the wrong side there. So the issue I had with another model I just built recently was that the poly cap was damaged, so those hard plastic bits could not hold the poly cap in place. Now, I do have a bit of lining here, but again, I'm not going to worry too much about that right now, because I'm actually a bit curious as to how quickly I can build one of these kits now. Just from memory. I mean, mostly from memory, and no panel lining, no nothing. So, I mean, if you're new to Gunpla, if you're new to like model building, this might give you an idea of how long it could take you. Depending on the level of detail you want, the level of quality. So we got that snapped together. And, oh, right. For the foot, we are going to probably want D. So let's clip those out. Also, I do tend to try and build both arms, both legs together, because it's usually identical. Just, I mean, so similar. Where are we? Okay. Is that the back of that's the front of the leg. Okay, there we go. So that's going to go there. And we want one of you. There we are. And, oh, we are missing, what is that? Let's see our runners. Okay, you know what, we'll figure that one out in a minute. Oh, I see now. Here we are. Missed one more piece. Now, newer entry grade kits and no grade kits are actually improving a lot in the sense that there is much better color separation, much more variety of color in newer kits, and even simpler to build. So modern entry, like this is sort of comparable to an entry grade in the number of parts and the simplicity of it. However, newer entry grade parts or entry grade kits don't even need nippers, which is impressive. I mean, you can actually just take the pieces off with your hands, or use this part separator to just pop it off the screws, off the runners. You know what, with this, before I attach it, I am going to try and hide these tiny bit. There we go. Just because it'll be easier to do it now as opposed to when it is attached. Just slap that on there. This one here, let's see. And one thing with the Gundam markers is you can just scribble away and then wipe off the excess. It can leave a mark on white pieces, so you might want to be a little more careful. If you don't want to use your thumb, you could use a cotton bud, pencil eraser. Actually, the other day, there was a really... You okay? Oh. And someone's hungry. But yeah, the other day, I had a really tight corner like this to try and get into to fix a piece, and I ended up using a rubber band on the end of this, which got right into the corner, cleaned everything up pretty nicely. Gundam markers are pretty forgiving. Okay, where are we? Oh, there's the piece I'm looking for. Thank you for hiding under the camera. Let's see now, where were we? Slap that on there. Let's get this down here. Also, I'm still talking, but I might end up editing this part a bit and just adding some music.
Getting ready to do my knit chat online.
So, just gonna snap that there. Again, parts like here you might want to touch with a Gundam marker just to cover it over. But in the meantime, did I get this backwards? No, I did not. Good. Just gonna snap in there. Snap in there. Very simple, very easy. And now you have two legs. Ta-da! Okay, so moving on to the body. These ones are pretty simple. It's only 2 pieces, maybe 3 or 4. So snap that, please. There we are. Actually, I think from here we can pretty much remove everything and then sort it out. There we go. Oh, it's always good to double check your runners before you throw them out, just in case of small parts like, whoops, like that. So always just check it over, maybe count through the numbers just to make sure that every piece has been taken and used. Now I think, where are we? This is part of the body. We can do the head after. So there's that. We got the skirt here, front skirt. Let's just get in here. Ooh. See, that's a bit that needs to get covered over. And since we're here, we'll clean up the antenna. Now, some people might not realize this right away. However, Bandai likes to put tiniest of safety features in their kits. So, on the antennas, usually in the show and the manga, these are very sharp and pointy. Bandai likes to add these little plastic bits just to make it a little less sharp. It's usually good to try and take those off. Or you can leave them on. I mean, if this is going to be with a child, I don't know. I mean, this not a huge difference, but still a bit of a difference. This I'll probably have to clean up with my knife after. But yeah. So, okay, I know we do need one of these. This is going to hold your head on. And usually has a tiny spot it will slide into here. One thing to note with this piece is that there is a tiny indentation on the front side that you won't find on the back. So, I mean, if you need to know which way is forward, look for that little indentation. There you go. Let's see, looking at this. Okay, it does look like it is going to use this piece for the skirts. Not every kit uses this. And let's see. I think it's this way. I hope it's this way. Yes. So there's our body. Another thing is applying decals. Your stickers. I can tell already the yellow dots are going to go here, here, and here, both sides. It's up to you really if you want to apply them as you build or if you want to build and then put them all on after. Again, it's builder's preference. Usually at this point, oh, I see this has to go on. Let's see if we can clean this up a tiny bit. Also just making a mess of plastic bits everywhere. You get used to it. So we want this to go on here. So there's our body. We can go ahead and pop the legs on there while we're at it. Pop on the arms. Oh. Actually, I still have to build the shoulders, so these arms... Actually, no, it looks like the shoulders are going to lock onto the arms, so that's okay. We'll figure that out. As for our skirts, let's see. Side skirts, front skirts. Is it the longer side forward or back? Oh yeah, okay, so longer side back to match up with that skirt. Now the only thing with these kits is that the G Gundam kits use this method for the skirts. The Gundam wing kits actually use smaller poly caps to hold these in, and they just peg in, whereas this relies on a ball joint, which anytime you're trying to pose these ones, the skirt's gonna fall off. So you might prefer using a Gundam wing kit for trying things out. That being said, I mean, they both have their pros and cons, because I think you can actually get some slightly better poses out of these. Actually, maybe it's the same either way. I mean, the front skirt will come up better, and you have two separate pieces for your front skirt, but the side skirts will be better on the wing kits, I believe. On newer kits, later kits. So, we have a body. Yay. Now, gotta do the head, the core lander for this one. That's one thing with the G Gundam series, is they pretty much all the Gundams have a small fighter jet cockpit. That, I mean, it's a fighter jet and then it doubles as a cockpit, or maybe less of a fighter jet and more of just a car. I mean, it's a boarding vehicle. So we'll take those off, and that's already come out. Thank you. Yeah, we can grab the head while we're here. Why not? Grab that. Grab that. He's got this neat helmet. And down we go. There. I am not entirely sure what those extra pieces are for. I think they're part of the core lander. Let's just see. Yeah, okay, yeah, I think. Where's our box art? Does it show the core lander yet? Oh, yep, okay. There we go. Okay, I see what that is now. See, and these are parts that would actually need a tiny bit of paint if you want them to be color accurate. Get that out of there. Get that and that. And again, we have another clean runner. Just double check. Yep. So that's good to go. So. Okay. There we go. And I see the shoulder pieces I missed. One runner. let's go ahead and grab those while we're here. Then we're going to be done with the nippers. Off of there. Might need my knife just to finish these off a bit. Okay, so yeah, let's just clean these up a tiny bit. Let's see, how is this one? That. How's the helmet? It's pretty well smoothed out. Don't want to do too much to this because of the texture of the plastic, but I can touch that up with a Gundam marker. So while we're here, let's actually just borrow these arms. Let's see, are these the same either way? Yes, they are. Okay, so whoops. Actually, this one looks like it could actually just slide. Oh yeah, okay, so I could have put this together beforehand and snapped it on. There we go. So, with this one, it's not too bad. Usually, if you see the connecting point like that, you can actually just put it together and then snap it on. However, most kits will typically have you build it onto the arm. Let's see. Sometimes with these it won't stay until you snapped it together properly. And let's just turn that around. And oops. So that happened. At least this is easy enough to turn around, but it's moments like that why you keep your part separators handy. There we go. Crisis averted, because otherwise I'd been using this or my metal wedge to try and deal with that. Bless you. Let's see about this Corlander. Now this is one of those things that I would like to panel line beforehand. I might just try and pry it apart after, but okay, that looks like the outside. Snap that in. Again, these things are pretty simple, pretty straightforward, I think. How's this piece looking? Okay, yeah, that's our bottom. So this is our top, which means you're gonna go like that. Gotta put our cockpit in there. And try and close this on top. This way. There we are. Then, when it's time to fight, you got your backpack thrusters, and that's going to go right into the back. There we go. And that's also removable, so if you want to take it out, have it separate, that's fine. Okay. These parts can go okay. However, I do think I am going to give this a little bit of a panel lining touch. So, I get into the exhaust vents, and I just wipe away the excess. That. One thing I like to do is actually do a bit around the eyes. Even though this will get covered up with a sticker, it's still nice to have, because if you don't quite place the sticker perfectly, it's not going to ruin you. See little indentations there, so you want to do that and then just wipe it away. And you end up with those little bits, which is perfect. Let's frame the face. This is where it can get a little messy. Oops. Just want to add a little bit of shading in there, just to outline that face. And it's optional if you want to do around the chin, but there's also a sticker for that. I mean, okay, this is optional, but it's a good option. And Gundam markers, you can pick them up for like $3, $4. Some people have found cheaper substitutes. And where did our antenna go? There it is, and we just got to give this a little cleanup. You can see. Also, I find it's typically better to drag the knife back and scrape off excess plastic, because you may accidentally cut in if you try to do it the other way. Okay, there's that, and let's pop that in there. Pop that in there, and voila. We have one Gundam Spiegel, Shadow Gundam. Just like that. Now, I should have actually applied the eye decal before putting the helmet on. But yeah. I think this is pretty good though, still. I mean, you may paint instead. And this is where we get tricky again and where we may want our part separator. Although this is not the best part to try and separate. Actually, let's take the antenna off before we accidentally break that. Let's see. That should be enough to get in there for the eyes. Now, again, I love this tool. Some people, they'll just use the tip of their knife, which I do that too. But if you want something a little more child-friendly, this isn't going to take any fingers off. Just grab it on like that. Get in here. And oops. This is actually one of those spots where my knife might have been easier to deal with. There we are. I also remember some of the older Pokemon kits used to come with a sticker applicator. It was soft plastic, very good for this sort of thing. Let's just get that, try and line that up properly, and then press her down. And again, this is why I like to do a little panel line around the edge of the eyes, is because if you don't get the sticker quite right, it always has that black outline anyways. So you'll never notice. Let's just fix that helmet back on there nice and tight. Where did our antenna go? There we are. And there you have it. So decals, I think I'm going to worry about later. Pretty straightforward though. I can see right now, like, these yellow dots are going to go on the sides of the chest. These 4 pieces are going to go on either side of the shoulder. What else could use some... What looks white? I think these go around the ankles. This I might have to look up, but yeah, I think we're going to call it a day for now though. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, feel free to like and subscribe, leave a comment below for any content you look forward to in the future. Bye.